Hello, everyone. This is Warhawk Beyond 2040, bringing to you another edition of the Wrestling Discussion Series. And August 26th, 2002 marks 21 years ago that The Undertaker signed with SmackDown after leaving Raw 4 days after SummerSlam. And for today's special edition, I am going to be talking about The Undertaker's entire SmackDown run from August 2002 to October 2010. Now, Undertaker, of course, was originally part of Raw when he was drafted to the Red brand after the first draft, and he would jump to SmackDown, as I mentioned, 4 days after SummerSlam, and he would pretty much stay on SmackDown for virtually most of his career. And, as great as he was on Raw, I feel, in my honest opinion, his best work came on SmackDown. Now, obviously, Raw made Undertaker a legend, but I think when he was on SmackDown, he not only became a bigger legend, but I think he achieved godlike status on SmackDown. And, as a fan growing up watching the Ruthless Aggression era, I always felt that SmackDown was a far better show than Raw. And a lot of that was down to the SmackDown 6, consisting of Angle, Benoit, Eddie and Chavo Guerrero, Edge, and Rey Mysterio. But there was one guy who really helped put the Blue brand on the map, and that was, of course, The Undertaker. Now, of course, The Undertaker by 2002 was already an established name. He had been in the company for almost 12 years by that point, and he was already considered a true legend by fans. And of course, as we all know, The Undertaker has a large, worldwide, loyal fan base, and that in itself is a big enough reason to tune in to watch the show every week, was to, of course, see The Undertaker. But I feel having him on the show, everyone who came to SmackDown who worked with The Undertaker got better, and they benefited so much just by being in the ring with him. And I think The Undertaker just made everyone around him much better. Unlike on Raw, where Triple H was just burying talent left, right, and center, everyone worked with The Undertaker, got better, and went on to become huge stars in their own right. And just look at this as an example. Undertaker's last match on Raw in 2002 was against Triple H, and it was voted the worst worked match of Raw history. Now, 4 days later, he goes on SmackDown, has a triple threat match against Kurt Angle and Chris Benoit, and it was already hailed as one of the best matches of his career. What does that tell you? That tells you something right there. And I feel with The Undertaker, when he was on SmackDown, he just became a far better wrestler. So highly versatile. He started adding submission moves, he started getting more technical, and he was mixing it up with all sorts of different talents. And it really showed Undertaker's versatility in the ring. And, I've gone on record in the past to say that I wasn't a great fan of the biker Undertaker. But when he went to SmackDown, I really enjoyed his work during that whole Big Evil run, from August 2002 to November 2003. I really enjoyed his work in the ring. And, he just had so many good matches. He had a great little mini feud with John Cena. They had a great match at Vengeance 2003. He had an unbelievable war with Brock Lesnar over the WWE title at 2 straight No Mercies. And, Brock Lesnar in particular, I think out of everyone on the SmackDown roster who works with The Undertaker, I think Brock Lesnar benefited the most because, The Rock may have passed the torch to Brock Lesnar, but I think Undertaker just put Brock Lesnar all the way to the moon, as far as I'm concerned. He put him on the map as the next big company guy for WWE. And, Undertaker had excellent matches with Kurt Angle. We got to see the technical side of The Undertaker. He wasn't just a brawler, he could mix it up with the best technical wrestlers in the world. There was nothing Undertaker couldn't do, and it really, as I mentioned, showed his versatility on the show. And, Undertaker even went back to the Dead Man on SmackDown. I always thought that he would go back to the Dead Man and go to Raw, but he didn't. He stayed on SmackDown, and for me, that just freshened things up even more. And, look at all the rivalries Undertaker had on SmackDown. He had a great rivalry, as I mentioned, with Brock Lesnar. He had a great little mini feud with Kurt Angle, an entertaining feud with John Cena, an underrated hidden gem of a feud with Mr. Kennedy, JBL, classic wars with Batista and Edge. He had a fantastic rivalry with Randy Orton. You know, so many different feuds with so many different guys on SmackDown. It was just incredible. And he had so many good matches on SmackDown. And, he won the world title 3 different occasions. We got to see the Dead Man established his presence on the Blue brand. He really ruled SmackDown with an iron fist. And, you know, when I say he ruled SmackDown with an iron fist, I don't mean that he buried talent. He just made everything feel epic. He made everyone around him feel better. And as I mentioned, he put everyone over in the ring. Even some of the guys you wouldn't think, well, I wouldn't really give the rub to him. He doesn't deserve it, but Undertaker still did anyway. And I feel even after guys like Kurt Angle left, Brock Lesnar left, Undertaker was right there in the thick of things, mixing up with everyone, even mixing it up with fellow veterans like Fit Finlay, Booker T. He worked with everyone. He really carried SmackDown on his back. And it's amazing to look at it, to come in as the biker after SummerSlam in August 2002 to November 2003, and then just go all the way through from the biker to the Dead Man from March 2004 to October 2010. Look at the body of work that he put together during that time. It was incredible, and he never went to Raw once. Sure, he made some special appearances, of course, but he stayed on SmackDown through thick and thin. And, he even won the Royal Rumble 2007. Unbelievable. And, as I said, if Raw made Undertaker into a legend, then I would say SmackDown made him into a god. He achieved godlike status and he just became a bigger legend. And it was such a blast to watch The Undertaker on SmackDown every week, whether he was competing full time or part time or as a special attraction. Whenever The Undertaker was on SmackDown, it was must see TV. You couldn't miss it. You had to watch SmackDown. And even when at times SmackDown probably wasn't doing as great, you always had The Undertaker to generate that little bit of extra interest. And anytime you had The Undertaker on SmackDown, it felt like a big deal. And it really was a big deal. And, as great as Kurt Angle, Eddie Guerrero, and all of these other guys who all played their big parts being a part of SmackDown and all of its success, I feel Undertaker made SmackDown what it is. He made it must-see TV. And look at all of the moments that The Undertaker provided on SmackDown. We had the Brothers of Destruction reunion with Kane, all of The Undertaker's epic returns on SmackDown, great promos and segments with Kurt Angle, Brock Lesnar, John Cena, Vince McMahon, so many iconic moments. I mean, we could be here till tomorrow or even next week if we could just tick off all of the iconic moments that The Undertaker was a part of on SmackDown. That was where he really cemented his true legacy. And in terms of the success and failures of The Undertaker's SmackDown run from August 2002 to October 2010, I'm going to go and say it was a complete success. No failures whatsoever. Obviously there were some clunky feuds with guys like the Great Khali, Big Daddy V, Mark Henry, and Vladimir Kozlov, to name a few. But I wouldn't really blame the Undertaker for that. That was just a case of bad opponents. But I don't look at them as failures. I look at them as like, well, they weren't great, but I wouldn't deem it as a failure in The Undertaker's SmackDown run. I would say everything about The Undertaker's SmackDown run was a complete success. From the American Badass slash Big Evil to the Dead Man, everything was a complete success. Although I would lean towards the Dead Man run on SmackDown as more of a complete success, but everything from start to finish was just top notch. Nothing bad to say about The Undertaker's SmackDown run. It was absolutely legendary. So that's going to be it from me. I am going to wrap this up now. What was your thoughts on The Undertaker's SmackDown run? Did you enjoy it? What was your favourite feud and match with The Undertaker during his time on the Blue Brand? Was it against Kurt Angle, Batista, Randy Orton, Edge? What was your favourite moment during that time? You know what to do, guys. Hit the like button, hit the subscribe button, leave your thoughts and comments down below, and I will see all of you next time for another edition of the Wrestling Discussion Series. So until then, take care, everybody, and stay safe. And once again, as always, much appreciated. Thanks for listening.